Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 233. Gonna get to it. Remember, this is my second one with my new setup here, so if the sound's messed up, it's kind of on you to kind of on you to tell me down in the comments. I think I have everything adjusted to where it's pretty reasonable, but I don't know. I'm not the one trying to listen to this for 2.5 hours, since if it's causing problems, let me know down there. And so, anyways, back to the trial. Not a horrible start here. I'm pretty okay with all of these. I think the weakest out of these is probably this Twisted Fate. This is a pretty good card pool, but I just don't like having to start with Coral Creatures, and we have all these other good options here. But, it is good. This either turns into what I consider just kind of be the one-drop deck, where we're going to play a whole bunch of one-drops, then try to draw cards with Pool Shark and Fortune Croaker, and then draw cards from our opponent's deck in the mid to late game with Black Market Merchant and Pilfered Goods. So that's kind of deck number one. Deck number two is just Sea Monsters. Both of them are pretty reasonable with Twisted Fate. Just, we got good stuff. I don't want to start with Coral Creatures. Over here with this Victor, this is a horrible Victor start. With all of these augment decks, whether or not it's the one with Tarek or the one with Riven, I don't like starting with Death Ray or with Trail of Evidence. Both of these cards are pretty terrible. So Death Ray, I think, I don't want to call it like one of the worst cards in the game because it is removal, but it has a lot of problems. It's very tough to find a 1 health target. It's kind of reasonable now with so many Zoes running around, but in general, it's kind of tough to find a 1 health unit that you actually care about. And then, with having to redraw kind of a bad Mystic Shot to have to redraw a bad 3 mana removal spell is just not what we're trying to do. And so if your deck's light on removal, it's fine, but it's not something I really want to have in any deck. And then Trail of Evidence, of course, still pretty terrible. So I think we're okay to just take this Aurelion Soul. I am pretty happy with Astral Protection. This kind of card has historically been horrible across every card game, but I found this to be pretty good in Runeterra. And then Moondreamer, a reasonable Invoke, not the ones that we're particularly looking for with Aurelion Soul. We really want to be finding the 3-cost ones, the Daybreak and the Nightfall Invoke, and then we want to be finding the healing spell, Star Shaping, I believe it's called. But Moondreamer is a reasonable start. And so I'll take a moment to get this pulled up on the site to talk about Aurelion Soul a little bit more. And if you're not familiar with the site, it is ftpbus.com. It's where I keep all of my expedition stuffs. I have updated the guide section to at least cut out all of that text. I figured, once you've kind of seen the text once, you don't need to see it anymore unless you're really interested in seeing how the wind tracker's going. And so I thought it was a little bit cleaner just to have this collection of all of the YouTube videos. But nonetheless, today we'll be over here on this Expedition Helper section. We're going to click on the little drop-down thing, go to Aurelion Soul, and find Dragon's Descent. And so there's two things going on with this card pool. This is, of course, the core to being in the dragon stack. Half of the dragons live here, half of them live in Demacia with the Shyvana pools. And so the big ones here, Fused Firebrand is what I think to be the best top-end dragon. Between him and Eclipse Dragon, like these are your two bruisers for the end game. The Fused Firebrand is extremely tough to actually deal with since it comes with Spell Shield, and then Eclipse Dragon is just the best value unit in the game. And so there is a lot of raw power here. The cheaper dragons and the value dragons do live over in Demacia, so if we're going to look towards dragons, we do need to be picking up the Demacia champion. I don't really like just taking whatever champion shows up second. Like, say, we take a Tarek second, so we're doubled up on Targon, and then we have to find a Demacia card in the next 4 picks, or we just don't have any. I'm not a humongous fan of doing that, and so if we want to really pursue the dragon route, then we need to be taking the Demacia champion. Otherwise, the Invoke deck out of this, it's not as good as the Otherworldly Creatures Invoke cards. Like, this is where you're going to find both of the Priestesses living in the card pools. You'll have your Star Shaping living here. The Invoke cards we really want live in Otherworldly Creatures, but those packs should be showing up should we decide to go after the Invoke route. This just has the weaker ones in bold, the Infinite and Moondreamer, and then of course Eclipse Dragon is not weak, but if you're just trying to go directly for an Invoke theme, it's not terrible. And so That is how we're looking at Aurelion Soul here. So kind of the thing with this is we're going through the deck building. Is Aurelion Soul is obviously the one of the most powerful late game cards there is. It's extremely hard to lose the game if you're able to play an Aurelion Soul, and then backed up with all of the invoke top end. This is the best top end in the game. It's just there's no deck in the format that's going to outvalue an Aurelion Soul invoke deck, or even to an extent, it's pretty tough to do it to the Dragons deck if they're packing multiple Eclipse Dragons. But the problems that we have with this, there are no removal spells here whatsoever, and so this pool doesn't have any way to interact other than just playing big dudes on the board and hoping for the best, or invoking like an Obliterate. So we do have to place a really high value on any removal spells that you tend to find, and then the early game units are pretty terrible as well. There's just a not Sunblessed Figure, Startled Stomper, and that is the actual only the only early game play in the common slot, and then there's the Spacey Sketcher, of course, at the rares. And so, the late game is extremely good. The mid game is accounted for with some of these dragons like White Flame Protector, but the early game is horrible, and there is a humongous lack of removal spells. So keep that in mind once we try to pick up a second pack here. And so this is pretty awkward, not something I'm particularly excited about. I think we're just kind of stuck taking this Fiora. I'm not like opposed to just taking Shadow Isles Champions if it's going to get us to some removal spells. So if this was like a Death's Door Thresh and we were able to put together some kind of like Shadow Isles Targon Invoke deck, then okay, I'm fine with it. But this Ancient Evo Maokai has this big theme of trying to play horrible units like Cursed Keeper and then killing them with Chronicler of Ruin. We don't really need to be generating this like early game aggressive value. We just need something that can come down on the board and block. And so it's going to leave us here with this Fiora. I don't like the Frostbites with this either. If this was like a Trundle, I would be okay with it, but Trundle plays so much better on the defense than Ash. He does actually pair up with Aurelion Soul as far as Otherworldly Creatures goes. Otherworldly Creatures is the Trundle pool. I guess we could consider this if we want to try to backdoor into the kind of slower Invokes deck, but I was just liking this Fiora for two reasons. One, it puts us in Demacia, so if we want to end up drafting dragons, then this is where we need to be. And then kind of thing number two, is it has some early game play to it. We can get it a Fiora down. We're going to start with a Prismatic Barrier and an Astral Protection, so we can play Fiora and then just kind of threaten some of their units, even if we don't plan on OTKing with her. And then kind of the same with Greenfang Warden. He's an extremely good blocker. But this is close. Like my big problem here is this being Ash. I think if this was like a Braum or a Trundle, even an Articuno, I would be okay with taking it. The problem with Ash is he's really only good on the attack. And so I want a champion that we can just put down and block with. And she's really, she's kind of okay at trading up, having 5 attack, but she trades down so much, only having 3 health. So I think we're kind of stuck taking Fiora here. She's not the ideal companion with Aurelion Soul. Hopefully we can win some games and then just pick up what's it called, Shyvanas, if we do end up in the dragons, but we're just gonna have to see how this goes. So let me take a look at what's her name, Fiora here. The kind of the thing, was this Suit Up or Shield Wall? I think this was Shield Wall. Yeah, that's the one. The big thing I'm going to call out here before it even shows up is I'm pretty sure the dragon lives here, right? Oh, no, there it is, Screeching Dragon. Yeah, and so that I think is kind of like the saving grace here to a degree, as we do have access to some of the Demacia dragons. The Demacia dragons aren't even that good outside of Shyvana and Screeching Dragon. The things you get out of Demacia are the early game plays, the 1/3 that generates a dragon in your hand, and then the 3/2 for 2 that gets Challenger if you behold a dragon. And so, it is some of kind of the early game plays we'd be looking for, but, at least from Fiora herself, the things that we should be able to get out of this card pool, it does have removal and detain. Single combat probably lives here as well, which it does. Both of those, or at least the single combat plays particularly well with the Fury Dragons, kind of another way to give them a boost. And then this does have a lot of early game plays in it between the Protector, the Tracker, and the Greenfang Warden. So hopefully we can, just kind of fill out our early game with some of these Demacia cards and then just slowly move into the late game. And then I guess it's also just, we're going to have to see if um, we end up going towards like dragons or invokes, or I'm not even like 100% opposed to just building around Fiora. If we're able to get like Zenith Blades and Astral Protections, that's an option. So let's just see how this pans out. I'm really leaning towards just going towards dragons, but no guarantees on what we actually see here. Okay, with this one, I think I'm pretty happy to just push towards dragons. I don't want Stellacorn or Gift Giver. Gift Giver would be okay, but the Stellacorn's just too bad. And then the Screeching Dragon is the one that we're looking for here, just another kind of interactive element along with a removal spell. And so we might have to go out of our way to find removal spells. So I'm pretty glad to be picking up one here at the beginning of the trial. Then the second thing with this Shield Wall pack that should be happening is, to the best of our knowledge, the way the packs are shown to you, like the synergies are decided by the system. It's not by the packs that you take. It doesn't say, all right, bro took a Shield Wall pack, he must be drafting Shield Wall. It's supposed to be looking at the physical cards themselves and kind of comparing the cards in our deck to the full amount of cards within this card pool. And so why I'm kind of like rattling on about this Shield Wall here with the single combat Screeching Dragon in it is both of these live in at least one Shyvana pool, if not both of them. So like if we scroll down to her with Dragon's Descent, it does have Screeching Dragon, does not have single combat, right? But I bet the other one has both. Yeah, this one has the single combat Screeching Dragon. And so, kind of the idea here is, this is kind of, this should essentially be the same thing as taking a Fist of the Dragon pack, since it has both of the Screeching Dragon and the single combat in it. And so I'm hoping that this kind of helps push our deck towards taking the Dragon cards, even though that's not specifically the Dragon deck that we're drafting here. Okay, this is a whole bunch of nothing that we want. With these, I'm okay with Hush. I don't really want Sunblessed Vigors. And down here with the back-to-back Blade Keeper, these are okay if you're building towards Fiora, at least with the Blade Keeper, but the back-to-back is just too expensive of a combat trick for these decks. In general, the kind of combat tricks I want in these decks are the one-cost ones, because what we'll tend to see is on, like turn 4, we'll play a White Flame Protector. On turn 5, we'll play a Screeching Dragon. And on turn 6, maybe we'll play a second Screeching Dragon, or we'll play an Envolus Vox or something. We're only going to get the mana that we have banked up to use for combat tricks. And so what we tend to see is, say, on this turn 5 where we want to be playing Screeching Dragon, we can't be spending 4 mana on a Riposte, because it's going to keep us from playing a combat trick. We just can't do like an expensive combat trick and an expensive unit in the same turn. So we really want our combat tricks to be things like Radiant Strike, the armor thing at 2 mana. I'm okay with Hush. I'm okay with the Diana Flip, whatever. These card names kind of don't come to me all the time, but back-to-back is just too expensive and not something we want. And so I'm going to take this Hush Shadestalker for 2 things here. I want the Hush. This is extremely good. Much better 2-mana combat trick than a Sunblessed Vigor. And then the Shadestalker is just a unit we can play in the early game. We would prefer to have the 1/3 that makes dragons. We would prefer to have the dragon guy that can get Challenger. There's a whole host of units we would prefer to have than Shadestalker, but we have to have something. I'm willing to go out of my way to pick up that something just as a unit that we can throw down in the early game. Okay. Pale Cascade, that's the 2-mana Diana flip card. Look at me figuring out how these things go. Okay. And so this is kind of interesting. Again, I'm okay with Screeching Dragons. We don't have a lot of build around for dragons, but we're kind of getting there. My thing with Screeching Dragon is, even if we don't find any of the other dragon cards, this is still a reasonable unit, and it gives us a way to interact. So I do want to take both of these Challenger units. I think this is a little more important than the closers like Fused Firebrand. We typically should be able to find things like Moondreamer, Aurelion Soul, Behold the Infinite, just other ways to close out the games that aren't Fused Firebrand. I just don't think he's going to be ultra important here. Then I would love the Pale Cascade, but I don't like Sparkle Fly unless we have combat combos with it. So if we're not playing like Taric or Zenith Blades or something, then I don't really want the Sparkle Fly. Okay, okay. This pack is horrible. There's not much more you can say to it than that. Down here, I don't want the Poro Fly or the Star Chart. Neither of those play towards our themes. I think we're just stuck taking the Brightsteel Protector Bladekeeper. It does, the Protector does play with our early game plays here in the Tracker and the Fiora, to a lesser degree the Screeching Dragons, and so I think these will just have to work out okay. They synergize with our decks better than the elite units down here. Okay. So, don't really want these. I don't like playing Spacey Sketcher unless we have generated cards. So if we're playing like Gems or Reforges or Puff Caps, then I like the Sketcher. Without them, I don't like to have to discard real cards to this. So I think we're kind of stuck with the Senna and the Riposte. I did go on a big thing about not wanting Ripostes, but if that's what it comes down to taking, that's what it is. And the Senna is, she's very good at coming down, dealing 4 damage, and then trading up. So not ideal, but we have to have some amount of early game plays in our deck. Okay, here's some of the dragon payoff. I don't really like Herald of Dragons. This is a super high roll card, right? If we have it on turn 2 and then can follow up with the 4-drop dragon, which we don't have, or Shyvana, into one of the 5s, then that's a super powerful curve, extremely hard to actually deal with. But this is completely dead if you draw it on like turn 7. So it is a pretty high roll card, but it does give us a dragon build around. It gives us a 2-drop, and it's paired up with another dragon. And that's just kind of everything that we're looking for here. Okay, then this one's easy. It's got the 2-drop with the White Flame Protector. None of these other cards really play to our themes. We already have 2 Screeching Dragons. We're not going to have enough barriers to really take advantage of the Cavalier. And then these cards are just randomly randomly appearing and not doing anything that plays to our themes. Oh, you want to help us draft, bud? It's been a while. I think you skipped out yesterday. It's okay. It's all right, buddy. So let's see. Here, this one's kind of tough. Again, back to our combat tricks, I do really want the Radiant Strikes. I don't really want Ripostes. But the thing I do kind of want here is the single combat. We haven't seen any Sunbursts. We haven't seen any like Sneaky Trouble Bubbles, no Detains, no Concerted Strikes. And so our interaction is kind of limited to single combats and challengers at this point. And so I'm fine with helping out with both of those methods. Ideally, we would be able to take the Radiant Strike Firebrand, but the draft just hasn't played out to where that's a reasonable ask. But cool, this will make up for it. I don't really want On Guard or Confront. Tayari is not. We're not going to have enough early game units for him, and so the 1-cost combat trick, the 2-cost combat trick should hopefully do us well here. Okay. Interesting. We're going to have so many ripostes. I guess we at least have some of the tools to use with these, but again, I'm happy to pick up more removal spells than the Strafing Strike. Okay, alright. One of the 2-drops with the Astral Protection. This will work. Let me just at least double check on our top end real quick. I think we're okay. We've got 1 Firebrand, 2 Screechings, a Moondreamer, Aurelion Soul. Good chance we'll pick up, 1 more dragon before the end of the trial. Or before the end of the draft, and then I think we're looking pretty good in that sense. So let's pick up the Lieutenant and the Protection. Again, at least the Protection plays particularly well. I lost my train of thought. Which one was that? Oh, the Astral Protection plays well with the Fiora and all of the challengers, and then it's okay with some of the dragons. And here with this, I'm happy to pick up Zenith Blade. I think it's the first one we've seen, but I would really like to pick up 2 of these. But, it's touch a card advantage with the Clutch, and Zenith Blade would be fine. All of these other cards are horrible. We don't have any elites. The Defender would be reasonable here, but I don't want it paired up with a Battlesmith. The Poro Chain Vest are both extremely weak, and so we at least have a dragon-themed card and a Zenith Blade. Okay. Oh man, this one kind of sucks. I think we're going to take this Mountain Goat. I don't want to trade the Radiant for the Riposte. I would be pretty happy to go the other way, getting rid of Ripostes for Radiance. Here, I think I want the Mountain Goat more than the Green Fang Warden, and I don't want to trade out our Hush. I had to sneeze. But this Hush is kind of close. It's tough. Like, our spell count is pretty high. With the 14 spells here, none of these spells are like unit generators. We can kind of see that sometimes to where our spell count gets really high. Where are our spells even at? It's weird. We've got 3 Ripostes, 1 Zenith Blade, 3 of the combat cards, a Prismatic Barrier. I think we're probably okay to just get rid of this Hush and pick up another unit. And then at least some of the upside with this Egghead Researcher is, we were complaining about maybe not having enough top end, being just a little bit short. I would feel really good about this top end if we had an Eclipse Dragon. But, this generates expensive cards. I think this will be okay. Gives us an early game play that generates some late game. I'm kind of on board with it. All right, then we are going to have to go and make a prismatic card for the trial. Usually go for the units as far as that is concerned. And so let me see here. I know I already have Egghead Researchers. So since we're playing with dragons, let's go level up a dragon. I think we can get White Flame Protector. But let's just do Screeching Dragon. He's going to be our the real meat of our top end. So let's make him go big. If you aren't familiar with what happens when you make your cards prismatic, it technically doesn't do anything to affect the games, but it makes your units feel better. They have all that confidence, and so then they perform better. It's a little known fact with how these things actually work, and so I do feel pretty good about upgrading our Screeching Dragons here. So there we are. We're ready to go. Let's do it. Okay. And then, curious with this deck if we should have just built the Fiora. Like a lot of what we talk about with Fiora is, kind of having your fallback plan, to where if you've, say, attacked with Fiora 3 times, you're getting your 4th attack in, and then your opponent just finishes her. Like, what do you do at that point? Like, you've probably taken pretty good control of the board since you've murdered so many units with Fiora, and you typically just fall back to Screeching Dragons. He's kind of the ideal late game card, but we could have kind of built to that ideal here, but like building towards Fiora and then just having more of a dragon sub-theme as opposed to building towards dragons and having a Fiora sub-theme. Not super sure which way would have been better or worse, but nonetheless, a reasonable start. Can get Herald of Dragons sometime, so we can start playing the big dragons on 4.
I'm something of an aspiring trichologist.
And this is a must open.
Follow the tracks.
Well, maybe not. I mean, that's awkward, I guess. We have Senna, but if we want to Herald of Dragons, then we just have to open. We should be able to control this board pretty well. Oh, cool. He's not going to have too much follow-up. If we're able to get these cheap fused firebrands rolling with the single combat mana banked. Not sure if we should play the generated one or the one that we actually have, but we're just going to murder his board here. Oh, it doesn't even send in the first blade. Beautiful. Ally enemy. Cool. Now we're going to have a Challenger Bird hook onto this 2/2. Pretty good, pretty good. Sure. And these make it a touch awkward. I guess we don't have to attack with the Firebrand. But we certainly want to keep this unit from growing. We're never going to get a better value out of the Sleek Feather Tracker. So all in all, this is pretty okay. And I haven't really decided if we want to protect this Firebrand. We probably don't. But we can single combat out of this if we want. This is fine. We're never going to play cheap dragons from this point forward.
Lieutenant, have you brought a specimen from the field?
We let you keep the egg. Be content with that.
Seems good.
We fight for those who cannot.
What's our thoughts on trying to drop this single combat? Let's see if we can't get him to tap out of some of his mana before we try to throw the Firebrand into this. Perfect, perfect. Just get this Garen out of here. We're just a handful of turns away from playing Aurelion Soul, and our health is pretty high, and his board is not that impressive. I think this is pretty good for us. Would rather just add Moondreamer here. So let's go ahead and play it. Oh, cool. Easy peasy. Alright, I'm curious what happens. Like, we built towards taking Shyvana's, but there is the chance that Shyvana doesn't show up, right? We're going to be seeing Aurelion Soul, we're going to be seeing Fiora, and then we only get one champion after that, which should be Shyvana. Cool, it is. Oh man, this Aurelion Soul has a Grand Plaza with it though. Interesting. How do we want to approach this one? Like the Herald of Dragons is good, the Grand Plaza is good. And never excited to have multiple Aurelion Souls. These cards are so good, and these Shyvana cards are so bad. Like Behold the Infinite's not bad, it's just not what we're trying to do. Kind of the same with the Lookout. He's just not a requirement for our deck to be good. But like this just fixes all of our early game problems if we ever draw the Grand Plaza or the Herald. As you can see from that game, even the Herald without the 4-drop dragon is pretty powerful. Man, that's close. I think I'm just going to take the Grand Plaza. It's like leagues more powerful than Shyvana. I've never, like, she's good, but to me, she's just stats. Like, what? One of the things, like if you come from a Magic background, that I've always kind of thought was interesting is whether or not you think Tarmogoyf is a good card. You know, objectively from a results standpoint, Tarmogoyf is a very good card. It's seen, you know, leagues of success and defined multiple formats that it's been in, even back through big formats like Legacy. I don't think it ever splashed in Vintage, but you know, it's certainly a mainstay of Legacy. Probably still not. I don't know. I don't follow anymore, and at least in Modern. But I've always felt like Tarmogoyf is just a horrible card. It doesn't do anything, right? It's just a whole bunch of stats for you know, a low price. That's what, you know, Loyal Badger Bear was at 4/4, and to me, it's a lot of what Shyvana is. You know, I'm not saying that she's a bad card. That's not true. It's just not a card that I think is good and think plays well. It just doesn't do anything except have a whole lot of stats. And if you kind of like take a look at all of our units, like they all do something to a degree, except for some of these dragons. Like White Flame Protector doesn't really do anything. Fused Firebrand doesn't really do anything. I'm not saying that they're good, not good cards. It's just they're good because they're stat efficient, and like that's all Shyvana is she's kind of stat efficient and doesn't do anything. And so it was kind of always the Tarmogoyf test. You know, I always had friends and teammates that love playing Tarmogoyf, and I just I didn't get it. You know, it just didn't do it for me. But nonetheless, back to this. I think I'm just going to take the Grand Plaza here. Maybe we'll be able to take another Shyvana at some point, and then maybe we'll be able to trade out a Fiora. I don't know, but I think the Herald and the Plaza are just too good to be passing up. It's worth the risk of just getting a clunky second Aurelion Soul draw. Maybe we can just trade him out as well. I really only want one, but the Grand Plaza is just so much better than just so many champions. Like I'd rather have it than Articuno, like every single time. And so we'll see. Oh, we get a little start with it. Our deck isn't really like optimized to deal with it, but it doesn't have to be that much. It's just such a powerful card.
We were forged in Dragonfire.
Forged in Dragonfire. Oh, cool. So we'll get an open and then can play the Plaza. So, I mean, like, the thing with that is, you know, if you haven't had the joy, it makes it super hard to attack into people because their units are probably just bigger than yours, right? If he plays a 3/3 for 3 and I play a 3/3 for 3, he can't attack back into me because my unit's a 4/4 now. And then, you know, it's clearly good just being able to hook down all of your opponent's units kind of with the same idea. do we want to just skip over playing it and add Screeching Dragon? Because I think that's how we're going to go about this, because I don't think there's a big chance that he's going to play cards that can't interact with this, right? So I think we'll be okay. Like we would play the plaza there, then we wouldn't have like units here. I think this is fine.
The end of this world draws near.
This could be bad. If he has a Frostbite back here for our Screeching Dragon, oh, he can't. He only has 2 mana. That's fine. I was gonna say, but if that plays how that would go, then he would strike down our Frostbitten unit, kill it, and then kill our Herald of Dragons to regular combat, which not ideal. Not ideal. A lot going on in that background. I never saw all this stuff in the full text. Hanging out with Shyvana, blowing shit up. Is that the Grand Plaza in the background? How do we figure these things out? Maybe not. It's just kind of a circular E building. Right. What did he do? I was too busy looking at images to see Catalyst of the Aeons. Okay. Alright. Let's get into battle. This Green Fang Warden's going to do more damage than the Fused Firebrand. Oh, that was his... What? I didn't just skip, right? I was too busy looking at art. I think... I gotta pay more attention instead of doing stuff like that. I think we're okay here, though. Okay, yeah, we just attacked with stuff. He played Catalyst. Okay.
The summit's final trial.
So what's he supposed to do? Is he's going to attack into our now bigger unit? It's so brutal on both sides of the combat. Yep.
What do you see, boy?
Oh, I was planning on making like a riposte play here, but before things got awkward. I think it's still okay. Are we? Well, are we willing to trade like a riposte for this stuff? Probably not. Let's just see if we can't get a good prismatic barrier on one of these dudes. Let's go to +3/+4. Big time decisions. Is it about time? Do I have to take down the wintertime holiday festival cardboard yet? Cardboard, game board, whatever this thing's called. Fortunately, it looks a little inappropriate with all the presents and stuff on here. Maybe we'll have to switch to a different one. Not sure when the new ones come out. They did all those roadmap announcements this week, and so I'm sure there's new stuff coming out. Get your Azir cardboards and just in time for summer. Okay. It's awkward. It's like I want to replace the Herald with with just actual anything, but I want to get this Aurelion sold down next turn as well. Maybe we'll lose a unit here at some point and have a free space on our board.
want to know about that one,
Let's see if he attacks first. I mean, we're not in any hurry here. I have to feel like even if the game comes back to us without any of our units dying, then it's going to be okay. Let's protect our Aurelion soul. I don't think we care so much about the dragon. He is pretty intent on getting rid of it, though. But I think we're okay. We can challenge anything down with our Grand Plaza. We have a challenger already. I don't think losing him is that big of a deal.
I'm something of an aspiring trichologist. Keep up, old man. Things are different in the field.
This all seems reasonable. I do want to bank 2 mana here. So, I mean, if he kills something else, he kills something, but I would like to go into this next turn with Aurelion Soul and a Prismatic Barrier. He's pretty tough to deal with anyways, but would like some amount of protection. Seems real intent on making sure we don't play Aurelion Soul next turn. Be a waste. I mean, we have a lot of time, but he's definitely coming down and like most certainly flipping, right? This Targon Freylord number shouldn't have a way to interact with this on our turn, outside of like sunbursting something. If we're going to be playing cards for free, I think we should probably just pick up the Scourge. Our only choices were big units, so I think that's okay. He's still not even just big enough to flip. Okay. We'll get there eventually. We got a lot of stats in our hand. So. Keeping 5. We can't just play the Scourge and get there. Sure. See if oh man, so much stats taken away. I think we're still okay though.
The frost reveals all to me.
It doesn't count as a spell shield breaker since it doesn't put the little circle thing on the middle of the board. Sure. This is ready to flip. It's already got 10 on board. Or 15 on board. Come down and be up to 25. Best.
Your favorite star. I created it.
I guess the big thing will be, can we just like open kill him next turn? I don't really want to risk losing our units. How does this look if we open and then just Scourge through his board? I'm not real sure whether the Scourge or Aurelion Soul will be the one to get weakened. I think it's Aurelion Soul that'll get weakened, but
A familiar face for you Runeterrans.
so if we attack and hook everything, well, he can only hook one thing. I think we still got to go for it. We can't let him just start playing expensive cards with Aurelion Soul with no repercussions. Right? Or do we want to?
Sends chills up my spine.
We want to add units. It's just so scary if he's going to be slamming these things in. I think we just want to hook Aurelion Soul and do this. getting for about neg a million, and we still have a single combat if we need to try to kill one of his boys here. Neg 18, he's got 5, 6, 12 health. I think we're fine.
You'll make a fine totem.
If it's a fight they want. Oh, do get a move on.
Yeah, neg 6. And then if we want, if we single combat Aurelion Soul into Moondreamer, he has Rage, or whatever that's called. So he'll have, that should get us in an extra 6 attack, if that's what this comes down to. Harsh Winds is more of a problem card. Oh. Okay, those are... There's no burst speed celestial cards. It's okay. Even if, I mean, if he would have Harsh Winds to our non-spell shielded guys, then we still could have killed him in single combat. So. Don't feel too hard on yourself when you're watching the video, friend.
You've been wonderful, as have I.
Okay, okay. It's interesting. I am interested in picking up Concerted Strike. We don't have any of the... I call this kind of guaranteed removal. It's technically not, but we don't have anything like that. Our only way to hit units is with single combats, and we have a dragon single combat, whatever it's called. So I would be okay with picking this up. It sucks to lose an Invoke, but I don't think we even really need these. We have enough dragons here at the top end. We have 2 of the dragon generators and the eggheads. I think that this would just be okay to get rid of. I think we picked up a Beyond the Infinite, right? Or did we not pick that up? I thought that was with Aurelion Soul or something. Must not have been. Anyways, I still want this removal spell. Okay. Seems good, seems good. Okay, cool. So Victor Yasuo paired up with... Oh, where'd that go? Hang on, come back, thing. Paired up with Targon. Okay. See, look how shiny this is. Our cards are going to be performing at peak levels. They're feeling so good about themselves. Look how shiny this shit is. See that Green Fang Warden's got all these like sunbeams and stuff warming him up. Whew. Exciting stuff. See if he's gonna Death Ray. Gonna Death Ray our tracker? Nope. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get in. It's pretty easy for him to play a card that we don't, that'll just shut us out of combat or we don't want to deal with. Ballistic Bot would have done it. So, pretty reasonable to make that pass. See, this is kind of the thing with Egghead Researchers. Like, our top end is just good now, right? We've got a Screeching Dragon Cadrigen, as long as the, you know, we can get to the late game point to where we can start playing these cards, and we're just gonna be fine.
The skies darken with their approach.
Whatever he's doing, I don't care about. There's a good chance he doesn't attack with this.
Calm mind and open heart greet the night.
Cool, let's get our cheapo dragons down. Do some combat.
The end of this world draws near.
Can you improve perfection?
Okay. I mean, we don't get to take anything down, but then he also can't add anything to the board. So it's not It's not great, but it's not the end of the world. This is not a scary ballistic bot. If you had like 2 and 3 augments out, then this would be a little bit scary, but we can just block this card forever with the cards we have. That goes on. Oh, that happens immediately? Must be nice. See if he does anything. I have to imagine he's not going to. But I'm okay to just pass and bank all this mana.
Can you improve perfection?
The Grand Plaza? Oh, that's sick. Sick draw. Fuck you, buddy. It's not as sick anymore. It's still okay though.
What a specimen!
Just get this stuff out of here. We can end the turn and bank. We'll be pretty okay with this. What's he doing? Like looking for a mystic shot? Can't even play it. I don't know what he's supposed to hit with those. It feels like a waste. Right? The cost on Trail of Evidence goes back up to 2 if you don't play it this turn. So I mean, I guess he can just play the random units or whatever it is, but it's not going to get any value out of it.
So I got a new one.
I guess one gearhead of value. I take it back. Okay, I'm gonna save my removal spell for real cards.
Don't mind if I do.
Okay.
May our light shine forever!
Which is interested in blocking now? I think so. We're never going to get good attacks with the Green Fang Warden when he has all these little 1/1s on the board. We had 4, 7, 8, so we can add Cadrigen next turn. We want to like preemptively play any of these cards. Because we're only going to have the 3 mana to play cards next turn. I don't think he's going to get any real value out of this Ravoon from this point. Let's just skip it.
Burn them all!
Cool. Got the big stats. Got those Tarmogoyfs on board. Tarmogoyf getting... I don't know if there's equivalent in Magic of Challenger where you make something block your guy. Interesting. Anywho, I'm kind of interested in the Shyvana. As much as I like these Aurelion Soul cards, I don't think we can add a third one to our deck. It's just a little too harsh on the mana curve, especially down here with this Shyvana when she has an Eclipse Dragon with her. So I'm not a huge fan of these Dragon's Clutches, but I think this Shyvana pool will do what we want. Maybe we can trade our Fiora away later. It's good. This is our top end is really solidified now with this Eclipse Dragon. I think we're in a pretty good spot. Ooh, getting our Plaza Aftershock. It hasn't done much this trial. I know our deck isn't really built to use it. I mean, if he hadn't had Aftershock, we would have just murdered his board. And so I guess we can't say it's done nothing since it got a 4 mana card out of him and stopped him from playing more cards. Okay, I never want to keep these Dragon's Clutches. Like, the Dragon's Clutch is just basically draw 2 dragons, and dragons all are expensive, so... I would have to say that, like, the +1/+1 is relevant maybe, like, 10% of the time. It's really just there to draw dragons. But not a bad start, not a bad start.
There's a chill in the air.
Interesting. Like, how worried are we about this Lucian? Because what we can do here, we have a couple choices. We could play Egghead Researcher to stop his Sleep Feather Tracker from attacking, which is kind of scary here because Lucian does, present a lot of damage opportunities. The other thing we can look to do is play Herald of Dragons so we can curve directly into Shyvana, which kind of leaning towards, although that feels a little greedy. I think we should probably just be safe here. Play the Researcher this turn, and then next turn try to hook kill his Lucian. Although if that fails, we're in kind of a spot. But I think if we take the moment to stop and ask ourselves if we're the aggro, we certainly are not against Fleet Feather Tracker Lucian, and so I think if the answer to the question is, are we the aggro? Yes, then we want to be making this Shyvana play, but this is a very clear no here, so we can answer this. This is Senna.
Prepare for battle.
She's a little scary. 5 attack double attacks is definitely not unscary, but we at least have a blocker at this point, and he's pretty tough to just remove. Oh, I forgot. I guess that's the thing. We'll go to 7. That's all right. Everything's gonna be fine. So we probably need to try to draw Challenger Dragon here. Then do we add the Herald, or do we want to try to use Vigor plus Radiant Strike? Add the Herald, we'll bank 1, have 5, this will cost 4. I think we'll play the Herald.
Come hither, you beasts of glory!
Ask me about dragons. I just may have an answer.
Right. We'll still have a 2 mana play this way.
The less we
Sure.
fear. You and I have met before, haven't we?
Okay, I think we're okay. If we can like hook kill this Senna, if we're going toe to toe with dragons, I think we're gonna be fine. Oh, beautiful! He just taps out. I want to spend the expensive trick here.
No, Lucian!
Oh, they might. I have the scars.
So how does this go? Let's say we strafing strike one of these little guys. Like the damage would balance out, and then this would just go up to 5. I don't like it. We're willing to just lose both of our dragons? That seems kind of terrible as well. Let's do this. We can just play Aurelion Soul next turn, right? Assuming he doesn't kill our Herald of Dragons. We just need to stop this damage. We can't be playing for value here. Okay.
As foretold!
So do we feel any differently now that we can't just play Aurelion? If we want to play Aurelion Soul, we have to wait till next turn? I don't think so. So let's get Shyvana going. We can get Fused Firebrand going, and then we can Brightsteel Protector, hopefully level up our Shyvana here. I think this is pretty okay. Oh, I thought you were going to be cheap forever, my friend. Not the case. This is still pretty reasonable board, though. We can level up Shyvana with the Eclipse Dragon.
My journey.
Got your back! End them.
Ugh. Ugh, that's not ideal. I did the mathematics on that one. That's not ideal whatsoever. Enemy. He's tapped out, so this is just happening. So at least, I mean, our board is humongous now. Our Shyvana's 2 damage away from flipping. I think we have a pretty good edge here. About to drop this Aurelion Soul with a ton of stats on board. This all seems pretty decent. Risking it now if he wants to get into combat and flip our Shyvana as well. I like this. We're fine. Everything's gonna be fine, guys.
Only I can endure the dragon's fury.
The big thing to worry about here, in my opinion, is if pretty close to flipping. No, not so whatsoever. Is we can't play like Firebrand plus Astral Protection. Let's just go ahead and Zenith Blade. Protect our Shyvana a little bit. Then I'm gonna stop playing cards. If he gets into some kind of combat, that's okay. I think we can handle it. And if he just passes and we bank 3, I'm also okay with that. Been super cool if we had another Zenith Blade. I have to imagine he's gonna like play a card and hook like a Brightsteel Protector or something. I'm not real worried about what's happening here. Okay. So he's done with combat, so we can add Big Boy now. Cool. Ooh, now we can flip Shyvana. So let's go ahead and do that. We should be able to take down Lee Sin. We want Shyvana to strike first, Eclipse Dragon second. So if this way, if he doesn't, like, this can be awkward. Like we we're risking a Fury here. Maybe we should have hit with Fused Firebrand. I think that would have been smarter. But he can't barrier out of this, right? The big purpose is that is you want your big unit striking second. So your first one takes down the barrier. Yeah, I think we're pretty good now. Pretty good.
Soldiers, to me!
You don't have to strafing strike. This is like a place where we're more likely to just Astral Protection something. But we'll see. We'll see how things play out.
Not the egg.
Okay. The egg. Sure. Which one'd you hit? Scout.
Don't get in my way.
Let's see how much not dying we can do here. It feels like there's a pretty good chance that we're just going to end up playing like a Riposte and not be able to play Aurelion Soul. But let's see how this plays out. You just spew in here. How does this look? Oh, I mean, are we ever going to get to... If we sacrifice off all of our units here, are we ever just going to get Aurelion Soul to flip? I don't think so. So let's just kill everything he has. So if that's going to be the play, I think we want to put 5 damage here. This is reasonable, this is reasonable. Say like this, and a Riposte. Do you have double strike? The fuck's my unit die for? Oh, he's gonna flip and then we still have to block. I'm not worried about keeping this thing. We're not gonna just die to combat tricks here. We have a board advantage and an Aurelion Soul, so as long as we can not die here, we're gonna be pretty okay. This is awkward though. Okay. Oh, you know it's gonna die anyways. He didn't click the button, so this is actually super good for us because we get the oh, his Lucian doesn't die though. Okay. I guess that makes sense.
Outrageous. I'll bring them peace.
Can we just kill him though? He needs another card. Okay. He didn't need another card. Well, that was 13 and he was at 12, right? I was subtracting out his Lucian health, and then we could have played cards after that. We'd have been okay. So, alright, with these, I don't think we want to make any of these trades. I do like hanging on to these Radiant Strikes, so we just have the cheap 1-mana combat trick. Don't need expensive cards like Ravoon. I'm glad to have the early play in Greenfang Warden, and then this is our only kind of guaranteed removal. So we're going to skip over all of these. Right. Cruising right along. Hey, it's the double quotes again. It's even got triple quotes in here. So much quotes. I mean, maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. If it's this would be someone like quoting Zoe, though, right? If it was, you know, I was trying to think of how the Michael Scott quotes, the Wayne Gretzky Michael Scott quote with you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky by Michael Scott. I was trying to think how that all played out. Nonetheless, back to the game. Reasonable start here. This is one of these big draws we were talking about earlier, where we can have the Dragon on 2, Shyvana on 3, and then we even just topped it up with the Screeching Dragon on 4. And so, if Hilarious Darius isn't able to interact with our turn 2 play, then we should be in a pretty good spot to just take over this game with stats. And I don't know about you, but I do enjoy taking over games. So. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out.
No one's the
Uh-oh.
wiser.
Hope we don't have to just like get in here and block. Oh man. Oh man. These aggro Noxus decks. That's not a thing anymore. Riot nerfed him into oblivion. I don't think we have to worry about it too much. Until he plays like a Trifarian Glory Seeker next turn.
Shape the skies and mold the earth.
For the Empire.
That's a lot of stats, not gonna lie. I did the math on that one. That's a lot of stats. We're really just gonna take an 8-bomb here? I mean, as it stands, I think I'm pretty okay with just throwing Shyvana into this thing. It's gonna open, right?
This'll shake 'em. Behind ya.
Okay. Well, let's see how this goes. Feel like that might have been a little greedy. But, I mean, we're going to get this Shyvana down now. We can Dragon Guard Lieutenant Herald of Dragons next turn. Hopefully this will be enough. That's scary. Seeing him just drop powder kegs into our board. Is he going to have a Make It Rain? Let's start with this in case he's going to make it rain. I don't really care about these heralds anymore. And we're going to be playing cards. So if he's going to play Make It Rain, I at least want to give him a bad unit to soak this up. Okay. Gonna Demolitionist.
What's the fire breath this time?
A soldier should know to stay out of the way.
Prepare for battle.
Suffer my fury.
We're just kind of like in the hope and dream stage here. He has 3 mana. If he has Whirling Death, then we're probably just going to lose the game. But we can take over this board, then go us. Go team. This is a spot where he like really needs to be opening as well, or we're going to start dropping super cheap dragons. All right. Hopefully we aren't too close to dead. We don't have any of the healing cards, and so Our health total kind of is what it is. It's not getting any higher. This feels like it has to be like a must open, right? Which is really sucky for him. He probably wants to be playing a Trifarian or a Gangplank or something here. I think if he had Gangplank, he probably would have slammed it, but um, right, if we're able to get a second dragon on the board and then get 2 blocks in, then we're flipping our Shyvana. So it's kind of scary for him.
Never keep a dragon waiting.
We are forged in war.
The prophecies ring true!
Run while you can.
Too bad. If he attacks with us on the right, we can kill it with Shyvana. Oh. Interesting. Do we want to just block it with Shyvana anyways? I think so. I just don't care. I don't care what she's doing here. We want to start wearing down this board. Right now it's like it's really tough for him to get wider than us.
Vanguard.
Spending all his mana. Okay. I want to take away the point from him. I'm not super worried about trading with these Herald of Dragons at this point. I want to prevent him from dealing that 1 point of face damage. I have to imagine like we're pretty okay here, right? If he didn't want to play like a Whirling Death last turn, I don't know why he like would have waited.
Damn it!
It would be cool if we had the counter spell option for if he has Scorched Earth or Nox and Guillotine, to where we could heal our dragons, but maybe next turn. We don't have any plays for next turn as it is. Okay, cool, cool. It's pretty reasonable. If assuming nothing dies, we'll have this Aurelion Soul flip next turn as well. Pretty juicy. Getting kind of worried. Seems like he's got some tricks up his sleeve. He's not really dropping on us. It's just gonna be like Savage Reckoner. Not a lot we could do about that. He would have slammed it. I don't know. I feel like this seems like he just has like a whole bunch of Tefarian shield breakers in his hand or something. Okay. Then do we want to go ahead and add Brightsteel Protector? I don't think we want to add him, but I do want to be playing Aurelion Soul next turn, so let's just pass. We'll at least get a chance to see what kind of shenanigans this guy's up to.
Suppose I should leave you be.
Just want the Scourge again? Like, how do we ever lose this game? Well, I guess it, we can't behold Celestials with either of these, so let's just go ahead and take the Scourge. They're so good. I mean, on the next turn, if we're like holding, you know, the Celestial, then we can play either of the removal spells. not flipping. Nothing we can do about that.
Oh, they will shine.
Okay.
Say your farewells.
One short. We were getting there with the Furies alone if he didn't kill our unit. Oh, we are. Did we just get there exact? Oh, Aurelion Soul has Rage as well. Oh, I forgot about that. Nice. Fury, not Rage, whatever. But, oh shit. Oh shit. All right, we got to draw good. This would have been the reason to take a Supernova instead of the card that we could actually play. But we didn't know we were going to flip, so.
Artillery barrage!
Oh, sick.
My, how they stare.
Okay, so
There'll be blood in the water.
okay, okay. Not dead yet. Not dead yet. So he's only got 2 mana. Alrighty. Can't play his Swain. So we die to like a Blade's Edge or a Parlay. But I think we're okay with that. There's nothing we can do about it anyways. Let's protect ourselves from Parlay. Oh, jeez.
A familiar face.
I'm just going to draw from here. I want to hit the Golden Sisters. See if that makes an appearance. Surprised he hasn't attacked yet. I guess it's not surprising he hasn't attacked when we have these gigantic units on the board.
The light of my star warms the heavens. What once was 2 now is 1.
Oh, cool, was enough. I guess he wasn't just waiting on us to tap out for the Blade's Edge. We got it there.
See you next time, Runeterra.
Cool. It's a little scary, not gonna lie. What do we have here? Don't want Stalking Broodmothers or to get rid of Radiant or Companion. This is the easiest skip of the block here. Get rid of these real quick. Okay, the pre-final battle. Cruising right along with this one. If we could manage to not lose, then we 14-0 this expedition. This feels nice. Is that right? Or did we lose that last? I don't remember if I thought we 7-0'd the last one. Now I can't remember if we just lost the final battle or not. Okay. That's units to play in the early game. Not much synergy, but you know, this is why we pick these cards up. You can't just have all dragon cards all the time, and so at least we want early game plays to kind of make up for where we don't have dragons.
I'm cold, I'm hungry, and there's rocks in the boots. It's my time.
We could technically bank here, but I don't.
Guide me.
We don't have any like really single combat units unless we just want to get 2-for-1 out of here, 3-for-1 at this point.
Your fate was
But
written.
this is fine, right? He's playing some kind of what has to be aggro deck when you've got Draven Riven. You've played 2 Reforges, and so you know, as long as we're not dying and getting to a point of the game to where we could hopefully get our big boys online, then going okay. Just gotta get to turn 10, am I right?
My gun does the talking.
Let's open. I have to assume he's not gonna block here, and we could try to Zenith Blade after combat.
I'm ready to shine.
Or do we just want to single combat this now? We can probably riposte him down. This might be a little greedy, but we need to buy some time with the cards that we have here, and I don't really want to just be getting 2-for-1 traded right here.
To serve the greater good.
Let's Pale Cascade.
Try to run.
Never submit.
And we might as well just... Oh no, we shouldn't. Let's just take the damage. I was going to say we can go ahead and single combat, but then we'll just lose our Senna. So let's try to get an attack in.
Laurents are born with blades in hand. I have the best job.
Figure he's never blocking.
Missed your chance to run.
And who are we more worried about, Tarek or Draven? Has to be Tarek, right?
With a little time, I'll have a breakthrough.
There's cards he can play. You can give him like weapon hilts and shit to get him up to where he can kill our Senna. But oh, I don't think this is okay. Do you discard quick attack? Brothers Bond? Sure.
Fight on.
So he's either got an Overwhelm or a +2 attack in his hand. I guess he's reforged twice this game.
When will I find peace?
This is one for the record books.
See if that changes his tune. I have to assume he's going to be... I'd probably just attack with everything, but...
Axes coming right up.
Moderately scary when he brings the whole team, but let's at least try to see if we can't win this one. These others. Like, this feels like a Brothers Bond again, but... Cascade, sure. We don't have to worry about the... take that back, as we don't have to worry about the elusive now. We can just block these two forever, but... Right. The unfortunate thing here is this can only hit a bigger dragon, but we can't just roll the dice and hope that we hit Screeching Dragon, so at least we'll be able to play Researcher, hook this thing down, and again, we can block his ground crew for a while. It's these elusives that have me a little worried.
The more we learn, the less we fear. No better
Rummel?
place
Oh
than
boy.
Tarkon.
I don't think we're just dead. But it's real close. We're looking to take 6, and he has spinning axes. Yeah, we're just dead. We'll go ahead and give this one up. So much for the perfect expedition. Thanks, bro. Dick. Alright. But that was a fairly awkward draw. I was happy with how we played that and kind of did what we did, but it was our cards didn't match up well with what he was doing. Here, let's get rid of the Vigor for the Researcher. It's just such a low value combat trick. Researcher is kind of key to what we're doing here. But no, I was happy with how that played out. Like, we just drew our low quality cards at the beginning of the game, and then we drew 2 Aurelion Souls, which is pretty abysmal. But we were still pretty in that game the whole way through, which is all I can really ask of these when we draw the bad side of our curve and still are in the game. Then I feel pretty good about that. These are fine. I don't think we want to hang on to riposts. We can play one on the 3rd turn. Sometimes, but it's not worth hanging on to, I don't think.
I deal in coins and carnage.
Okay. I'm not going to play the card still after combat, so it kind of has to worry about a trick, and maybe he won't attack. Because we're pretty okay with this if he just sends it back to us, but I'm willing to give up on the Fleet Feather Tracker. It's just, it's not important
Stand in my way.
to what we're doing.
Dragons, such fascinating creatures.
Let's see if he blocks. Is he going to block? Too bad.
Hang on, Buzzball.
Hey,
And I don't think I'm quite willing to just try and pop this now. Maybe we should have been. I worry more about a Zed, but I mean, he's only playing one Zed. So maybe that was a little greedy to not try to pop this when we could just get it with the single combat. Our board's about to get big.
been down. Let his knee out.
Made of stars. Where's my journal?
His hooks are all still horrible. This would be looking a lot better if we just had the one health egghead researcher and then he had no green glade duo. But I don't know. I still don't know if I feel real good about that. It's only getting one hook in, that's not a big deal. Would love to Grand Plaza here, but we don't have the early game for it.
I have the scars to prove it.
Okay, things are looking a little more reasonable. This should be a deck that has a tough time getting into combat with dragons. We can bang with whatever combat trick he's trying to throw down here. I guess, you know, if he's wanting to save units post-combat, that makes sense. This is the turn we're able to play the Plaza. And it's like, we don't even really need to be doing it here, but 4/5 Sparklefly. It's not ultra intimidating. Would we rather just make a bigger dragon, or can we just ignore this? We could kind of try to Grand Plaza. I think just get it next turn. Like with our big Screeching Dragon. I kind of like that. Okay. So we might... I don't want to play all these cards this turn, but we might need to. Can't imagine he ever just passes back to us here either. So. Alright, let's see how this plays out. I assume he's going to have like some kind of card here, but I feel pretty good about just spewing out all of our spells. So if he has like a barrier or something for this thing, I think it's okay. Sure. He's going to gain some health. We're going to kill his Jolt Protector, get a Grand Plaza down. This is fine. Everything's gonna be alright, guys. See if he adds anything. This is how you get that cheap Aurelion soul down. Our health isn't like super risky. He's not anywhere near flipping this Lee Sin. I think we're pretty okay. He should be pretty frightened by this Aurelion Soul, I think. Maybe we'll get to blast him with the Sky's Descent. I think I've drafted the physical Sky's Descent one time. And I just won every single game we played. It's just like, is playing a card that kills all of your opponent's units good? Turns out it is. So, let's see. Maybe we'll descend the skies this game. Okay. If he has tricks, I'm okay with it. But this should be tough for him, right? The big trick that he would have here would be like a Twin Disciplines, which just doesn't play well into any of our attacks. Okay. And our big worry now is if he plays a like a gigantic elusive with whatever he just jeweled protected.
Master Sid will be pleased.
Does he ever just pass it back to us? That's awkward if he does. Can't imagine he does, right? Okay. Didn't get any life steals. That would have been ideal. I think we need to take the elusive here.
Your favorite star. I created it.
Alright, we're going to come down here and try to get into combat with whatever he has on the board, but we're just a little bit short of flipping Aurelion Soul this turn. And we have to get these elusives out of here, so we can kind of deal with the other ones. Oh, man.
I do
Oh, and we drew Shyvana, so we're coin flipping to coin flipping to hit the Sky's Descent. Could we even play it? We have 9. It would have to cost 5. That's too many. Dragon or Celestial Ally you have, yeah. All right, well, let's do this. Let's start with Shyvana.
Servitude is beneath you.
Loyalty is not servitude.
I think we're gonna have to play like Learned Blade Keeper onto
Nice
one of these, onto I guess like White Flame Protector. Maybe we should probably just do it on Eclipse Dragon to help ensure that we kill this guy, because he's just gonna open kill us next turn if we don't deal with this Usari. Let's replace you. Give you. Oh shit, we fucked this up, didn't we? Oh, I fucked this up. I needed a. I was thinking the dragon was gonna have a Challenger, which it does not. Uh-oh. Oh man, I messed that up. We should. I think Shyvana was. Or no, we needed to boost Shyvana. Not care if she died. I think we punted this one. It wouldn't be like a guaranteed win, but it's certainly not looking good for the home team here.
Admire me.
Like, we don't even know if the combat would have been good, but you know, we at least need to put ourselves in a spot to where it can win the game. That was horrible. That's horrible. I just thought that my dragons had Challenger when they didn't. We're gonna lose to this guy now. I don't think we have any. We can draw our single combat or concerted strike. So we got like a 5%er here. Oh, that's abysmal. That's abysmal. Again, it's not guaranteed that we would have stopped this one, but we should have at least, you know, put ourselves in a spot to not lose this game. That was horrible.
I do love an audience.
Oh, that's abysmal. Damn. Boo.
There certainly isn't my
He
fault.
stealered that one. Those of you football fans out there. The amazing fall from grace of the Pittsburgh Steelers, starting out 11-0, finishing off like 1-6. getting annihilated by the Browns in the playoffs. that's that's what's happened to us. We just Steelered that one. But nonetheless, this deck came together okay. I was reasonably happy with how we went about it. From the start, where we took we started with Aurelion Sol fine, and then we dove into Demacia second, which is what I think you need to be doing. And then our other champion picks weren't that interesting. But typically, you don't have to be jumping in on dragons just because you've taken Aurelion Sol. You can look to just go invokes. But I think the big question with this trial was, what did we do this right as far as Fiora is concerned? Because if we could have, started try to get into like the collective support kind of cards, to where, say, from Targon, we're just trying to play, what's it called? Astral Protection. We're trying to play Pale Cascades, and we're trying to play Zenith Blades, and that's like the extent of our Targon. But then we still just have Aurelion Sol as the top end. But then look to really just craft and build around Fiora. That sounds to me like it's a lot better than these Dragons decks. I really don't like Dragon decks, partially because of like the Tarmogoyf thing I mentioned earlier, where it's just like you're just trying to play a whole bunch of stats efficiently, which I just don't think is good. And I think we could have probably had like a pretty good Fiora OTK deck to where our top end was just Aurelion Sol and then like 2 Screeching Dragons. If we could like redo it from the start, it would have been pretty interesting in how that panned out, because this did turn out to be like a pretty good set of cards to go either direction, and so would have been neat. But with this, as far as the Dragons deck goes, since that's where we ended up, it's what we'll talk about here. Is Shyvana is not super important. We did end up taking 1, right? These picks aren't right. We didn't have 3 Aurelion Sols. We had. Am I wrong on that? It just doesn't. There's Shyvana. One of these picks down here is just not right. We have. That's weird, right? We had 2 Aurelion Sols. We most certainly played some Shyvanas. There's no way we had 3 Aurelion Sols. There's something just wrong here. But she's not super necessary, much in the same way. I talked about Tarmogoyf and Shyvana. She's just a bunch of stats, and just having a big pile of stats will win you some games. She'll get some removal spells and just win you some games that way as well. But she's really not that super important, and so I don't feel like you have to draft her. Kind of the same goes with Aurelion Sol, but you have to be in these card pools to be getting like the Dragon build-arounds. So if you want to be getting the Dragon Guard Lieutenants, the Egghead Researchers, and the Herald of Dragons, you have to be in these card pools and be seeing the Dragon's Descent show up, or Otherworldly Creatures, or Fists of the Dragon. Those pools have to show up if you want these build-around cards, but the champions themselves are not super important. It's just Aurelion Sol is very good late game. He has some minor combos with things like Eclipse Dragon, and but don't feel like you have to take them. And so that's why I was reasonably happy to have Fiora, because as we mentioned with this Aurelion Sol pool, the early game is garbage. There's 1 2-cost unit, and then there's no removal spells. And so, being in Fiora, that our answer to that with early game units and removal spells were both there. So I was really happy with this, actually. Picking up the Fleet Feather Trackers, the single combats, the Screeching Dragons to an extent. That's going to be your big barrier to winning with these Dragons decks. Is, did I just put together a deck that can't do anything until the 4th turn? If that's the answer, then you're going to be failing. You're going to have some serious trouble. And so with these, it's not so much the specific cards that you're taking as that your kind of game plan is on point with what we're going to be drafting. And so you really can make it through the entire draft without taking Screeching Dragons, Eclipse Dragons, Fused Firebrands. Like, these aren't the important cards to be taking. The important cards to be taking are your Egghead Researchers, number 1. If you just sit here and generate all of your dragons, then that feels pretty good. And then thing number 2 to be taking is removal spells. And then if you're able to kind of piece those 2 things together, then you'll get some big dragons just kind of incidentally, right? We got the Screeching Dragon with a removal spell. We got the Screeching Dragon with a removal spell. Not sure what the other ones were. Fused Firebrand comes with a build around. White Flame Protector comes with a build around. So you can kind of go about it that way. You don't really have to be like, well, I'm playing dragons, I have to go get dragons. You can really look at this as like an Egghead Researcher deck, to where the big cards we're looking for here are number 1 Egghead Researcher, to a lesser degree Herald of Dragons, Dragon Guard Lieutenant, and then we're just going to kind of backdoor into whatever the top end dragons that we can find are. And so that's generally the way I recommend approaching these dragons. Things can really scale up. I did say that, Shyvana's not that important, Aurelion Soul's not that important. Just being in Targon Demacia is the important thing. But, to a degree, that's what takes your deck from being a 4 or 5 winner up to a 6 or a 7, is having, the good set of champions. We would, much rather prefer to have 3 Shyvanas and 1 Aurelion Soul as opposed to 2 Aurelion Souls and 1 Fiora. And so, that would be an improvement. We would be more than happy to come down here and trade out some of these riposte for just like 4-cost dragon. We'd be happy to get rid of these fused firebrands just in general. Like, there's a lot of edits that we could make to this to turn it into like a really good looking deck, but when you're going out there and drafting dragons, I think those are the keys that I want to bestow upon you. Is the main card to actually be drafting is Egghead Researcher. The other cards that we're super interested in are the early game plays and the Dragon Guard Lieutenant and the Herald of Dragons. And then beyond that, just kind of take your dragons incidentally and place a high value on your removal spells, because the removal spells don't exist anywhere in these card pools. And then from that point, it's pretty straightforward. Otherwise, don't draw 2 Aurelion Souls. That was loss number 1, and then don't play poorly. That was loss number 2 here. I'd love to go back and see if we could have won that game. It felt like he probably had a combat trick. I feel like even if we played that right, he would have just twin disciplines out of that. That seemed like what his kind of angle there was. But I mean, geez, you can't. You have to make him play that angle as opposed to just handing them the win. That was pretty shitty. That was one I wish we could take back. I just had it in my head that all of our dragons had challengers, so I was going to play the Blade Keeper, them have Challenger, and then our big Challenger Eclipse Dragon was going to be the most stats that we could throw at his Usari, and that was just not the case whatsoever. So, hey man, it's okay. People make mistakes. Shit happens. You can't be all winners all the time. But that is going to do it for us today. I think there's some kind of rewards along the way here. If we're going to be optimistic, then we did 7 win this trial, and so we're just giving our opponents the opportunities to get their 7 win, because they probably needed it, right? Because we were just being friendly, and we should have just came out here and O2'd this one so that everyone could get the maximum rewards. But nonetheless, jokes aside, we just got this sweet icon. I think we might be done with the Region Road now. All done. Looky there. All done until the new cards come out. You rewards lovers are just going to have to do without, because this is the time when they just all disappear. But that is going to do it for us today. Hope you all learned how to dragon a little bit better, climb to the peaks of Targon if that's where all the dragons live, and had a good time watching. Maybe had an educational moment or two as well. I just hope everyone enjoyed the trial that we had today. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.